The small roadside diner sat quietly along Highway 89 in a forgotten Montana town, a place most travelers passed without slowing down. That afternoon, the bell above the door jingled loudly as a group of leather-clad bikers stepped inside. Conversation stopped. Forks froze mid-air. At their center walked Jake, Iron Cole, the leader of the notorious Raven Skulls MC. His broad shoulders filled the doorway, his beard streaked with gray, eyes sharp from years on the road and in fights no one ever talked about. The waitress behind the counter swallowed hard when she saw them. Lily had worked at the diner for 3 years, but fear still crawled up her spine whenever trouble walked in. She grabbed her notepad and forced a smile as she approached the table. "Coffee, pie?" she asked softly. Jake noticed her hands before anything else. They trembled slightly as she poured coffee, the liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim. When she reached across the table, her sleeve slid up just enough to reveal dark purple bruises wrapping around her wrist. Not old ones, fresh. His jaw tightened. He'd seen bruises like that before, too many times. On women who smiled to survive. Lily noticed his stare and quickly pulled her sleeve down. "Sorry," she whispered, embarrassed, as a few drops of coffee spilled on the table. She rushed to wipe it up, her face flushing with shame. "Hey," Jake said calmly, placing his large hand over the napkin. His voice was low, steady. "It's all right." She nodded but avoided eye contact, retreating back to the counter. From there, Jake watched carefully. Every time a customer raised their voice, Lily flinched. When a man at the bar laughed loudly, she nearly dropped a plate. Something was crushing her spirit day by day. One of Jake's men leaned in. "Boss, food's getting cold." "Eat," Jake muttered, never looking away from the counter. Years ago, Jake had learned to mind his own business to survive. The biker life thrived on that rule. But some things scratched too deep to ignore. Lily moved like someone carrying a secret too heavy for her frame. When another waitress brushed against her accidentally, Lily apologized 3 times, eyes wide with panic. Jake finished his coffee and stood. The scrape of his chair against the floor made Lily tense immediately. He walked to the counter, careful not to crowd her. "You all right?" he asked quietly. Lily hesitated. Fear battled hope in her eyes. "Yes, sir, I'm fine," she lied, the kind of lie that came too easily. Jake nodded once. "If you say so." He turned to leave, but not before slipping a generous tip under his cup. Outside, the cold wind whipped against his face as his men gathered around their bikes. "We're not leaving yet," Jake said firmly. One of them frowned. "Problem?" "Yeah," Jake answered, eyes fixed on the diner window where Lily stood forcing another smile. "And I intend to find it." As the sun dipped lower behind the mountains, Jake felt it deep in his gut. This wasn't just a bad day for a waitress. This was a cry for help the whole town had ignored. And tonight, that was going to change. The sky had turned a deep shade of orange when Lily finally clocked out. Jake watched from across the street, leaning against his bike as she slowly walked to an old, dented sedan parked behind the diner. Her shoulders were slumped, exhaustion weighing her down more than the long shift ever could. She glanced around nervously before getting in, as if expecting trouble to appear from the shadows. Jake waited. When Lily pulled onto the road, he started his engine and followed at a safe distance. He didn't want to scare her, only to understand. The town grew quieter as they drove farther from the main road, streetlights thinning until darkness swallowed most of the houses. Lily turned onto a cracked side street lined with rundown homes. She parked in front of one with peeling paint and boarded-up windows. Jake killed his engine across the street. Barely 5 minutes passed before shouting erupted inside the house. A male voice. Angry, sharp, drunk. Lily's voice followed, small and pleading. Jake's fists clenched. He recognized that sound too well. Fear didn't need words. A loud crash echoed, followed by silence. "That's enough," Jake muttered. He walked up to the door and knocked once, hard. The shouting stopped. A moment later, the door swung open, revealing a bulky man with bloodshot eyes and reeking of alcohol. "What do you want?" the man snarled. Before he could react, Jake pushed past him. Inside, Lily stood near the wall, her face pale, a fresh red mark forming on her cheek. When she saw Jake, shock froze her in place. "Get away from her," Jake said coldly. The man laughed nervously. "This ain't your business." Jake stepped closer, towering over him. You made it my business the moment you touched her. Behind him, the low growl of bike engines filled the street as Jake's crew arrived. The man's confidence collapsed. He backed away, tripping over a chair. Jake took out his phone. Police are on their way. You can sit tight, or make this worse. The man sank onto the couch, shaking. When the police arrived, Lily finally broke down. She told them everything. The threats, the years of abuse, the fear of leaving. Jake stayed silent, watching her find her voice. For the first time, she wasn't alone. That night, Lily stayed with a local women's shelter. Jake made sure she had clean clothes, medical care, and a safe place. His club raised money quietly, no credit asked for, no attention wanted. By morning, the story had spread. A biker gang, that biker gang, had stopped domestic abuse and called the cops. The town didn't know what to think. Weeks later, Lily returned to the diner, stronger, smiling for real this time. Business picked up. People looked out for one another more. Fear loosened its grip on the town. Jake and his crew didn't stick around. They rode out at sunrise, engines fading into the distance. Sometimes, protection doesn't come from heroes in uniforms. Sometimes, it comes from men everyone feared, who chose to do the right thing when it mattered most.